working with breastfeeding. I had a little bit of a tough experience breastfeeding my second child, and so I knew at that point it wasn't that easy. It wasn't always as easy as I had it the first time. And also I recognized that that fourth trimester period of life, you know, for a mom and a newborn was way more challenging than the attention it was getting. It seems like there just wasn't enough information and there wasn't enough support being given to moms. I was really kind of appalled that so many moms were being forced to go back to work at 6 weeks. I was just really sort of drawn into that world and wondering what I could do about it, and if there was anything I could do, if there was anything work-related or professional-related or volunteer-related that I could do. I didn't even know a postpartum doula existed. Had never heard of such a thing, but I had a good friend, Jamie, who's also in the co-op. Jamie.
Hopefully we'll be talking to her
awesome.
In front of the camera one of these days soon.
Cool.
Trying to nail her down.
Yeah, and so I kind of said, Jamie, I know you do doula work. What could I do that would help me be more connected to these moms and newborns after the baby's born? And I said, without, getting a nursing degree, which eventually that would be really nice, but I already had a bachelor's in education and didn't really think I could go down that road too quickly. And Jamie said, I think you need to be a postpartum doula. And I was like, never heard of it. So I spent some time really researching and trying to understand that, and decided that when I did actually go ahead and get trained, I wanted to go ahead and do the birth stuff as well, just to make sure that if it's something I wanted to do, that I could also be trained enough for that experience as well. I ended up going to a birth on a whim. A friend who is also a doula needed a backup at the last minute because 2 of her clients went into labor at literally the exact same moment. She called everyone and anyone under the sun to find a doula to back up the second client. I had been brand new, trained, and she trusted me enough and sent me there. And it was really powerful and amazing and opened my eyes. And I was like, oh, nope, I think I don't want to just do postpartum work. I think birth work is also where my head is. And it felt really life-giving. My husband always talks about it being kind of like a moment where he saw me come alive professionally. And just be really excited about something in a way that I never really had been with teaching. I always felt like I was qualified to teach. And with doula work, I feel impassioned to teach. And I'm still teaching, just in a different way.
You are. And I think I love to hear people tell that story of having that moment of the common ground of so many of us had that person that called it out. They're like, well, you should do this. And something that maybe you wouldn't have tried, except that you had that connection with the person who got you on the path. And then, and I think it's so reassuring to people that are thinking about, do I want a doula? Do I want this doula? To see someone who's so alive with the work that they do. And that birth can feel so intimidating when you are pregnant, looking at giving birth for the first time. And to just have someone that has this confidence that they come alive, that whole energy brings so much, not just to them when you're in the birth room with them, but in those meetings ahead of time. And so my plug for doulas all the time is for people in my classes, I say, if you're just curious, go have coffee with the doula. Because who wouldn't sit down and have coffee with you and hear you talk about this work and be like, well, of course I want that energy in this space where I have to do this work I've never done. I know it's going to be rewarding but really hard. And so I love that energy. There's
a funny analogy I use a lot when I talk about hiring a doula, and it's when my husband and I realized that we no longer could do our taxes on our own. We had a property, we had 2 properties, we had 2 jobs in 2 different states and lived in a 3rd state.
Oh, wow.
So things were getting kind of complicated, and we decided that TurboTax wasn't going to do it anymore, and we needed to hire an accountant. We went into that experience oh my gosh, I can't believe we're going to pay someone to do what we can do at home. And we ended up not only having such a great experience with the accountant, but we got so much money back that we weren't anticipating. We developed a relationship with somebody who knows their stuff and has now been a resource for us for the past 7 years, I think. And it's heightened our tax experience to now we like look forward to doing our taxes because we're excited to see like how well we've been keeping up on things. So it's like the investment of hiring an accountant kind of changed our finances and made the experience so much more heightened and so much more a return on our investment. Yeah. And I think of that a lot with doula work too. I mean, you will certainly be okay in a birth without a doula. Like no one is saying that it is a requirement. It is not necessary for you to have one there. There are nurses, there are doctors. You're not going to be alone. But why not put an investment into the experience so that the return on your investment is like a memory that you love instead of look back on with like, oh, it was okay, or actually it sucked. It was horrible, you know? And or you know, have these kind of like fondness and these moments that actually feel good about the entire experience. And so that's kind of been an analogy I've thought about a lot with doula work is that like, you know, you can certainly do it alone. And so many people do. And a lot of people are fine and have great experiences. But you could also take the moment to put an investment in and develop a relationship with someone that's always a resource. I always tell my clients, our relationship ends when you say it does. Yeah. So if 5 years from now you stop calling me for advice and giving me updates on your cute kid, that's fine. If you want to end the experience after that 6 weeks postpartum, that's fine too. But you have a say on when our doula-client relationship ends. And until that point, I get to be there for you and you get to use me as a resource. And so it does become an investment, I think, on an overall heightened experience and a valuable resource to your toolbox, I think, as parents. Yeah.
That's great. And then part of what enables you to do that too is having other professionals, especially with the co-op, having people you can rely on for backup. So what are some of the things that, just from your years and being a part of the co-op in particular, or the Philly / South Jersey, I should mention, I'm not going to give away your exact location, but we don't want any stalkers showing up. But yeah, you're even in South Jersey, you're so close, we can like see the bridge. Yep. I said I could have jumped off the edge of the bridge probably to get to your house. And so you have really easy access to Philly. But so being a part of this, the co-op in particular, and the Philly birth community, what are some of the things that you've gained from being in this community, and some things that you think people have, advantages that they can enjoy just from being a part of people giving birth here in Philadelphia-ish area?
Yeah, we have a really vibrant, I think, birth and postpartum community, both with valuable resources that parents can utilize, but also within the birthing community. You know, we're kind of solo workers. We're independent contractors. We do our own thing. And so sometimes we miss out on that sort of coworker vibe experience. But having something like the co-op and just other birth workers that are so connected, it's such a like non-competitive community, I've found. I'm always telling clients when I meet with them, like, and they'll say like, oh, and they feel bad about saying like, oh, I'm interviewing with a few other people. And I'm like, please go interview with a few other people. Like, this is a really personal and vulnerable experience. We want you to find the person that's right for you. We want you to have a doula. We don't want you to just have me. I might not be the right fit for you. And there have even been a handful of situations where I'm like, feel like somebody else might have been a better fit for them based on personality or location or whatever it might be. But I think what I've noticed around here is that we're not a competitive community because we see the value of just having those resources for birth and postpartum as being more important than any kind of competition or money value that that is out there. Does that answer that question?
Definitely. Okay. Definitely. Yeah, well, and the other advantage for people to interview with multiple doulas is there's times where then if they hire you and you know that they've also had a tough decision choosing between you and another doula they've interviewed with, that's someone you can look to for backup because they have that existing relationship, or vice versa. So I remember having that experience with a mom who we went back and forth. We didn't know what to do. Like, even during the course of the day, we're like, okay, this one, Elizabeth, no Courtney, no Elizabeth, no Courtney. And they hired Courtney, and then Courtney threw her back out. And so the day that Courtney threw her back out, they had that advantage of, I could be the backup that Courtney could call, and I was there with them. And so it is a really beautiful, I don't know what it's like other places, but I think it's a really beautiful and amazing thing to be a part of.
Yeah, totally. Or just having a few extra hands on deck for, emergency situations, or, we all have to have personal lives too. Like, I'm going to go on vacation at least once a year, you know, things like that. And so, like, having hands on deck and not constantly feeling the pressure to, like, show up every moment because, obviously that's my priority. And I've actually only missed one birth to date. And it was a predetermined situation. And so is obviously a big priority to me, but that, like, breath of, like, security, knowing that I have somebody in my corner, whether it's someone from the co-op or somebody else in South Jersey or Philadelphia that I've gotten to know, sometimes even only online.
Well, that's why I'm doing this, because I have so many online doula friends that I'm like, I need to sit in the same room with you at some point. But I do feel like I can make those recommendations because you see the quality and the heart that people put into their work, even from watching them online. Okay, so I'm gonna ask some personal questions.
Okay.
Not in like so you talked about having your own space, your own time. And one thing that I've enjoyed asking people is what they do when they have that time with their off call, like how they really enjoy spending their time, what sorts of things they like to do with their family. And you had mentioned that when you do get time, that there's probably like low quality junk TV that you're drawn to.
Yes.
And maybe some high quality reading and podcasts. So I'd love to hear just about you, your family life, and your on call. And I want to know what junk TV and quality podcasts and books you have to recommend to all the rest of us.
Oh, all right. My favorite thing about being off call is not sleeping next to my phone,
Yes.
One of the things one of the podcasting kind of things I listen to is a lot about, like, time management and, like, mindfulness and, like, what, like, main strategy with mindfulness is, like, not letting technology run your life. And I'm like, but what about when we're on call? Technology has to run my life because that's how my clients communicate with me. And in 2019, most clients communicate to me via text.
Yes.
So I have to have my phone all the time. If I'm on call, my phone literally sleeps next to my ear in bed. And so that's my favorite thing to do off call is to
turn your phone off.
Turn my phone off, which is a really nice feeling. But when I am just, like, hanging out or being home and not working, I do have 3 kids. They're 10, 6, and 4. We do a lot of fun things with them. We love to road trip when we can and space out that good, get a good chunk of time to do that. We are big into our neighborhood. We have a big backyard that has kind of become a sort of community neighborhood yard. We knocked down a bunch of fences to combine people's yards. And
awesome.
So it's kind of a cool space. So I like doing a lot of things with the kids. And they love their sports, gymnastics and softball and things like that. So we're very involved in that. For me, when I'm not pregnant, I'm a big hot yoga girl. Got into that again last year after I did I was a gymnast competitive gymnast for my entire childhood and teenage life. And so getting back into, like, some strength yoga has been really, really fun for me. I'm a little bit of a runner. Not super competitive. I've done a couple marathons and things like that, but
just a couple marathons.
Back in the day, it's been a few years.
I'm still very impressed with any portions of any marathon. So if you can put an S on marathon, you're in a class set apart.
I'm an ambitious person, so I when I started running, I went that path, and then I was like, oh, okay, 3 or 4 miles is good. I'm good now. So that's what I stick with. I do lots of reading. That's a big thing for me. I love fiction. My favorite podcast right now is called What Should I Read Next with Anne Bogle.
Okay.
And she basically takes your 3 books that you've loved and 1 book that you hated and the book you're reading now, and then like diagnoses and prescribes your next reads.
There you go.
And it's awesome. And it's really fun. So I love reading podcasts. I'm into parenting podcasts, things that help me be, more present in my marriage and with my kids. I like pop culture stuff. I'm not big on following celebrities, but I like pop culture gossip a little bit.
Yeah. A little bit of celebrity gossip.
Yeah. Bachelor, Bachelorette have always been my weaknesses with trashy TV. I keep trying to find new trashy TV, but I keep going back to the old standbys. Yeah. Because they never disappoint. Yeah. They're always disappointing.
They never disappoint and always disappointing.
Yes.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah.
But I don't have to watch a plot, I don't have to follow along.
Yeah. And it makes your life feel very ordered and wholesome.
Yes. Yeah. And comedy. I'm into comedy. I love comedians, particularly female comedians. Bonus points if they're a mom. I feel like mom comedians just get it better than anyone else for me. So I'm into that a lot. And I will say that humor is a really big part of my life. I even see it in my doula life. I can even tell in an interview if a client is a more kind of serious person that I may not be a great fit for them because I will try to institute some humor and some lightheartedness into their birth experience, which I find that a lot of people really gravitate towards. And if they can let out a smile or a laugh during labor, things help. That helps. But some people are not into that. And so I try to get a feel for that too. But humor is a big thing. So always trying to find new comedy things, new funny shows, new things to listen to keep... the world's really heavy. Life is really heavy. And so I kind of think if I'm going to consume some entertainment, I don't need to consume anything heavy that's going to break my heart more than the world already breaks my heart. Yeah. And so I do a lot of humor to keep me grounded.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. So some people are into this and super familiar, so you'll either know right away or not know right away. So with that personality makeup, is there an Enneagram behind that? Or is there a Myers-Briggs? I'm a
hardcore 7 on the Enneagram. Are you too?
I am too.
Yeah, I feel
there should really be a directory of doulas. I'm going to be interviewing another doula soon who is sort of working that direction. I'll have to, do you know Hannah Lehman? Yeah. Yeah, so Hannah is doula and Enneagram all mixed into one. Wow. Okay. So I'm always, if people are familiar with Enneagram, I'd like to hear. And so how does being, obviously, maybe how would you describe that to someone who isn't familiar with Enneagram? Yeah. And how does that impact your birth work to be a Enneagram 7? Yeah.
I think it's gone both, it's given lots of breadth to doula work because so the Enneagram is kind of it's not a personality test, but somehow it links itself back to personality.
It does, yeah.
But there are 9 kind of categories of people, essentially. And the 7 has both the need to avoid, and it's also the enthusiast. And so I think I approach birth work very enthusiastically. And I think my goal is to give clients the best experience possible that is for them. Yeah. Not the best experience for me or what I think is best for them, but what they think is best for themselves. And to try and always be reframing what's happening to come back to that experience that they laid out as what would be ideal or best for them. And to find the bright sides and to find the
humor.
The humor. Or I've had a client recently who had a very unexpected C-section, and she had so much anxiety leading up to the birth that in essence, I almost felt like the C-section became a relief in the end. And she didn't see it that way and didn't feel it that way. But later in her postpartum experience, I noticed after working with her, this was a repeat client, I noticed that her anxiety levels were ridiculously different after the C-section because there was a known element of like, she knew when it was happening. She knew what to expect the entire time, whereas sometimes with the vaginal birth, we have no idea. Yeah. And so...
It was a planned C-section?
Well, it was planned as in like 2 days before.
Okay. But it was like, you can sleep all night the night before. You know what time you're going to the hospital.
Right. And so there was a lot of like... And she had such anxiety and issues leading up to it that having an end date was really comforting, right? Because it could have been another 2 more weeks if she not... Anyway, so kind of trying to always reframe to like come back to what's the experience you wanted? What are the ways we can see the good and the value in that? On the kind of drawback side of being a 7 is the need to avoid, which I would say that hard situations like really challenging births, really confrontational doctors or situations that don't feel comfortable are not my strong suit, but I've had to push through them to make sure that they are things that I don't avoid in my work. But I would say that, I'm not a confrontational person in that, if I'm seeing something going on in the hospital that doesn't feel right, I feel like I can use my 7-ness, my enthusiasm to like befriend the confrontation and say like, can we find a third way to this? Because I'm not going to fight and argue with you. I'm not an 8. 8s are a little more aggressive. But I'm also going to push through this and not avoid the conflict. So what can we do to find a way out of this, or a way through this? And so my approach is always to, be... kill them with kindness if it's an actual personal situation, or if it's a situation that's kind of beyond the borders of just like the people in the room, offering more solutions, trying to find a way to come up with some kind of compromise, working with my client to say like, hey, I'm on your team, we're going to work through this together, and let's find a way that is not necessarily super confrontational, not necessarily avoiding, but kind of somewhere in the middle. So I think it has played to my advantage more often than my disadvantage. Being a 7.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm just going to check our time. Oh,
sure.
We are going to run out. Instagram will kick us off after 30 minutes.
Got it.
So I will mention that we'll have a companion blog to go with this where you've shared a lot of other good information about yourself that I'll be able to sort of, in a written form, people can read about you, and they'll also have all of the direct link to your website, to your email, to your phone number, know how to get in touch with you. And you are doing the amazing work of growing a person inside of you and still planning from May and beyond to take birth clients. So anybody who's looking at due dates like June and after, are you booked for May?
Getting there.
Okay. So May-ish, June and beyond, which that's if you are expecting a baby, now is a great time to be looking for a doula. If you're expecting a baby in June 2020 and beyond, late May 2020. So check out Kim. Yeah,
I'm also a lactation counselor. I will be taking lactation clients even through my maternity. So those are just short visits if you felt like you were struggling with breastfeeding. Felt like you couldn't figure out what the issue was if you're having problems, or just wanted some help kind of transitioning from that like super ultra care of the hospital to the lack of care at all at home. I really love to do those visits as well, and would be happy to do them even with a newborn. So I will still be working. Just won't be taking births again till May.
Great. Yeah. Which I think is already amazing. So you are the go-getter. You're the marathon runner,
I guess
jumping right back into birth work. And so if that's the kind of doula you would like to have enthusiastically accompanying you through your birth, give Kim a call.
Yeah, thanks.
Right. And thanks for talking.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to turn the camera off and keep talking. But thanks everybody. Elizabeth and who else? Iris is joining us, it looks like. I think they waved at us. So thanks everybody who...
Can I tell you a secret?
Yes.
I'm technology averse, and this is the first time I've ever done something live on Instagram. So,
yeah.
And are those people out here
These
too?
are people that are on Twitter. So most of the Twitter
I don't
people
even have
we
Twitter.
don't know, but usually Instagram is people we know. So thanks for joining us, and we will post all your information so people
Sounds
can
great.
reach out and